Hey guys, I'm Jordan Woods Robinson. I play Eric on The Walking Dead, and you are listening to Creech Questions.
Hey everybody out there, welcome back to Creech Questions. This is episode 39, and we are just one day removed from probably one of the most shocking episodes of The Walking Dead in recent history. And we're mere days away from Creech Creative returning to Atlanta, Georgia for Walker Stalker Con Atlanta. Thank you for joining us again for this podcast. As usual in the background is The Irma and Louise with their theme song for Creech Questions, East Virginia. You can find out more about The Irma and Louise and listen to their music at www.theirmalouise.ch. Now, we've got a amazing show for you today. Obviously, we're going to be talking episode 3 of season 6 of The Walking Dead, titled Thank You, with Alyssa Mullen. And we're also going to be interviewing Jordan Woods Robinson, who plays Eric on The Walking Dead, for his record-breaking third appearance, and also as a continuous part of our podcast Bromance Week. He's joining us for over an hour. So yes, this is going to be a two-parter. Now, before we get into that, we just got one shout-out, so let's go ahead and take care of that shout-out.
You give me a gift, bam, thank you note. You invite me somewhere, pow, RSVP. You do me a favor, wham, favor returned. Do not test my politeness.
Now, for shout-outs this week, we have got one shout-out to Chris Harrelson. He runs the Heroes on Hand booking agency. And if you have been on our Facebook page, then you will have read the news that Creech Creative and me is now a client of Heroes on Hand booking agency. We're extremely excited to be involved with Heroes on Hand, and we look forward to being at conventions near you. So make sure you go ahead and give them a like and a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and all of their official channels. You can find out more about them by going to the Creech Creative Productions page, and they will be right near the top. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our Walking Dead wrap-up.
This is all connected. You show up, and now 3 of us are gone.
Why'd you bring us here?
Sorry if the audio is a little bad. I'm going to apologize to the listeners as well. I am currently driving, but we do what we got to do to get everything done.
That's right. I
am 100% sure that Glenn is not dead.
Yeah, they got me at first, but then I've been rewatching this, and I'm like, there's no way. It can't be him. It's just not. I mean, it may just be denial, but I could have swore I saw, the color of Nicholas's coat, the jacket thing he had on, being torn into, in the very first shot when they show Glenn on the ground.
Oh, yeah. So, that, and then, I mean, you don't have guts in your chest.
Right, yeah, that too.
Yeah, and Glenn was more crying than he was actually screaming in pain, which is another thing.
Yeah, that look on his face, though, right? Because, I mean, I knew he was totally, you could just see all his emotions and just thinking of Maggie. And I was like, when I first watched it, I was like, straight to denial. I was like, nope, this isn't happening. So at first I didn't cry because I was like, no, this isn't happening right now. It's some kind of dream or something. I'm not watching this. And then when I rewatched it again, I started crying. And I was like, no. And that's before I got on Facebook and started chattering with everybody about it.
And yeah, I'm really, really surprised that, I mean, we don't talk spoilers on the podcast when we cover these shows. especially because we're not a spoiler podcast. We're not into that. But AMC leaked this information themselves when they let Entertainment Tonight reveal the character of Jesus from the show. I mean,
Yeah.
So they've already spoiled that Glenn isn't dead.
Right. And I was surprised when you showed me that picture, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I can breathe a little bit. But I'm still interested to see when and if, how he gets out of this.
Yeah, I
and,
don't...
and let me just say, Gimple doesn't make statements like that like he did in The Talking Dead unless something is up. Like, no one else that has died has gotten this kind of treatment. You know what I mean? So it's, like, already a little fishy.
Yeah, that, and then they laid it on really thick last night with saying that Glenn was dead. And then they still didn't even show him in the in memoriam on Talking Dead, which I can liken it back to when people, when the governor attacked the prison and everybody, Judith went missing. And everybody, there's a lot of people that assumed that the carrier was bloody and that obviously she was killed. Well, they didn't show Judith in the in memoriam after that episode. So a lot of people were still, on the flip side, thinking she was alive, and come to find out she was. That's another, I think, true statement as to why it is more than likely not an actual death of Glenn. Not that I don't think his death is coming.
Right, yeah, exactly. I'm with you there.
But at the same point, I doubt they would do it twice in 1 year. So
right.
if in fact Negan is showing up in the finale, I seriously don't think it's going to be Glenn.
No, they've already thrown this in our face to scare us. And thank you, Kirkman and Gimple, for giving everybody a heart attack, including myself. I mean, they really got us. I mean, but yeah, when I watched it, I thought, well, okay, if he's alive, the only feasible thing I can think is that he got covered in, Nicholas's blood and guts, and is able to get away that way. Because I mean, they've used, now it's been Walker blood before, but I mean, if they're all infected, I mean, does it matter if Nicholas is like that fresh? I mean, could he still get away using Nicholas's blood and guts? I don't know. I'm wondering.
Exactly. And I mean, some people are like, well, Glenn would die anyway, because obviously the walkers, after they tore through Nicholas, they would tear through Glenn. I mean, I think Glenn's probably going to slide underneath that dumpster. Now, I hope they don't go the whole route like they did in season 1 of The Walking Dead, where they magically created an underneath hatch to the tank.
Right.
I'm wondering
yeah.
if they're going to do that with Glenn, and he's going to somehow climb up into that dumpster.
No, honestly, I think it might have something to do with that fire escape. They ran past it at first, obviously, in their panic, but there was like a couch flipped over and like some wood thrown up against like the start of the stairs. And at first I was like, oh my God, guys, climb the furniture and get up there. But I'm hoping maybe if Glenn gets away that he goes there, and like you said, not some like, oh, there just happens to be a manhole under here.
There were so many callbacks to the first couple episodes tonight. It was, and actually just to the series in general, it was pretty crazy.
I know, I caught those. I liked that. Like Glenn over the walkie, and then, he mentioned the line that Beth had said, we all got jobs, we all have jobs to do. And then, he brought out Herschel's pocket watch. So, yeah I liked it. But of course, that was them amping us up to get all upset, which I don't even know, I didn't even know what to believe last night. But also, Rick having to fight off those wolves, those are the same ones that Morgan let go. I'm so disappointed in Morgan. I can't believe it. He almost got Rick killed. I mean, if that guy would have shot, right the first time, he could have killed him.
So that was indeed the wolves that Morgan let go.
Yeah. Well, at least they're dead now. At least we know that.
Yeah, that's generally what happens with Rick. Now, speaking of Rick, there's been way more talk than I thought there was, especially since this was the scene that they showed last week on the Talking Dead preview. But everybody has been talking about Rick and his hand. Like, everybody's been going crazy. Oh, is he gonna die from infection? Is he infected? Is he, oh gosh, there were so many. They were even considering that he was gonna lose his hand like he did a long time ago in the comics.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it was like that serious. I mean, maybe it might have just been a really deep cut and it was bleeding a lot, but I don't know if it's anything. You know, he was only bleeding like that because he really didn't have anything to cover it up, so that's probably made it look worse than it actually is.
Exactly,
you know, if you had someone look at it, I don't know that it would be like that kind of threatening, like he'd have to lose the entire hand. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't think too much or look too much into it either because of the fact that, I mean, one, he's the main character, and two, it was, I mean, obviously he cut himself when he was fighting those walkers, but I don't foresee it leading to any major problems. There's so much stuff they're going to have to deal with that I think a cut on Rick's hand is going to be the least of his worries in the coming episodes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a little mad. I mean, they've already revealed what the next episode's going to be. And I will say I'm just a little bit angry. I mean, I want to see the Morgan flashback, don't get me wrong. But I feel like these are the episodes that I hate when they air weekly. Because
right.
you kind of lose appreciation for them in the sense that you're so woven up into that storyline that you don't want to see. You want to see what happens next in the present, not what happens in the past. Because that was the problems I had watching season 4 live when they did the governor arc. Because, you know, you saw the governor outside the prison, and then you had to wait 3 episodes just to catch back up to where he was at, and that was so frustrating.
Right. Yeah, I know. I kind of had those same feelings. I was like, when the episode ended, I was like. And then I realized when they showed it that, you know, obviously the next episode is going to be the 90-minute Morgan episode. That's what I thought. I was kind of like, no, like, I want to know. Because at the end, Michonne got back to Alexandria. It's like, come on, I want to see her reaction. I want to know, like, what is going on. But, yeah, it's going to be a kind of a kickback, like everybody sit down. But I'm still totally interested to see what Morgan has done. Because, to me, I'm sorry, but I feel like he's being a coward. I just want to know what made him that way, because he's not helping anybody recently. He's really making me mad.
I think part of me doesn't think that Morgan's going to survive this season. And partly it's because of his new thinking. Honestly, in my opinion, and it saddens me to say this because I'd much rather have it the other way, the more I think about it, the more likely it seems that, once again, if Negan is the one who shows up at the end of this season, I think Morgan's going to be the one to get the baseball bat death.
You know, you might be onto something there, because he's the one that's going to try and see the good in everybody, and if he does that with Negan, it will be the ultimate, you know, it comes full circle if he does that to Morgan. Because Morgan will finally see that you cannot live in this world how he's trying to live in it.
Exactly. He will live by the sword and he will die by it.
That's right. Oh, man.
So, yeah, I think as much as I want to see Daryl go bye-bye, which honestly, I will say, Daryl hasn't been on my nerves the past couple episodes because he hasn't been featured that much.
Right, yeah, he's kind of taking a back seat.
Which has been kind of nice because he hasn't been doing a bunch of superhuman stuff.
That's right. Now Carol is becoming goddess-like. She is now on Daryl's level as far as fandom goes.
All right, we are back. I hope you enjoyed that Walking Dead wrap-up. We are now going live with our Jordan Woods Robinson interview, the first part. Enjoy.
So other than that, how has the SOS studio been going? I know the last time we talked in Orlando, you were doing, I believe it was the Songs on Sunday?
Yeah, Songs on Sunday, and we're now called SOS Studio. We took the Songs on Sunday and made the little acronym, but we're just out there to help artists. Yeah, we started off by recording new songs for songwriters with somebody send up a scratch track, and then a bunch of musicians or vocalists or whoever would lay down on it and just help finish it, and then a mixer would put it all together, and we'd share that each week. And then now we're opening it up to the public, and in about 3 weeks we're gonna roll out our brand new membership program, which offers unlimited distribution to songwriters, and you get 100% royalties. And I just want people to be able to get their music out immediately and to start making profit and start engaging your fans. And then we also have a community of a network of other musicians where you can get feedback, and you can talk to them and hear where everyone's coming from and what insights they have about their careers. And lastly, we're going to continue offering the recording packages so that you can, through professional collaboration, you can network with professional studio musicians all over the world who will record their custom tracks to your song, so that you can have a finished song without ever leaving your home. And it all happens online, and then you can send it up to iTunes, and within about 2 weeks you get your music going. Is that what you're asking? I just went on a little spiel.
Kind of, yeah, but you answered it, and then you gave me a good next question. So with this membership, it's really going to be a benefit to anybody really in the recording industry, is what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm hoping so. The songwriters benefit by getting new music released regularly, and the musicians benefit by getting to record and meet the new songwriters, all these people who are actively pursuing their goals. The musicians get to meet them and record on their songs, and if you make a good impression, then maybe it's like if you got to audition for M. Night Shyamalan when he was still in college, and you got to work on a short film with him, and then 10 years later he calls you back up and he's like, hey, I want you to be in this new movie. It's called Sixth Sense. That's the opportunity for these musicians to be able to go out and play with someone who might be the next, Billy Joel. If anyone listening is interested, it's over at sosstudio.co/membership. There's some more information there. You can sign up for a little newsletter and get some updates and everything. But we're rolling that out in about 3 weeks. So that's where my brainwaves are.
Okay, and we're going to go back a little bit. Now with SOS Studio, you are part of the Blue Man Group, and you do your own podcast. What made you decide to want to start SOS Studio?
It actually started as a personal challenge. Yeah, I was doing Blue Man, and I got Blue Man Group just out of college. And so I went to New York University Tisch School of the Arts, and it was a lot of work, and it was 4 years of just overexerting myself. And when I got Blue Man, I moved out to Vegas, and I spent most of my day by the pool and just really relaxed. But then at a certain point, that itch started to come back in, saying, you need to create, you need to write, you need to do all this stuff. And someone had challenged me to write a new song each week. And so I took that to heart, and I started doing it in my living room. At the time, I just had a computer and an interface and a microphone, and I would write, record, mix, and post a new song each week. And I played all the instruments on it. And then I started bringing in more friends. I brought in a drummer, and I brought in an engineer who helped me mix everything, and the quality level went up while my time commitment went down. And I was like, hey, this is kind of a good thing. So then I started bringing in more people, and then I brought in more songwriters, and then all of a sudden, before I know it, this last session we just did, we did a full album. We did 14 songs in 14 weeks. And I only wrote one of the songs. We had songwriters fill all of the other weeks, which was really incredible to see it grow to that level where so many people are excited about it and want to be a part of it. So that's where it started off, very humble, just a little project, working on one song at a time type thing. And then over the years, it's grown into the SOS Studio online community that we know today.
Wow, that's I think you should have been on the podcast this past week for the inspiring stories, because it seems like that's a pretty it seems daunting challenge to have started from the bottom up and to worked it all the way to where SOS Studio is at now.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, and it wasn't even, at the time, it wasn't a challenge because it was just, it's what we wanted to do. It was a project, and I didn't have, at the time, I didn't have the goals of growing it into a business or growing it into what it is today, this very large community. It was just me working to better myself and to better my craft. And then I found other people who had similar goals, and so we all worked together in order to help each other out. And from there, it just kind of like a first thing that came to mind was a dust bunny. I don't know why, or a snowball. I guess a snowball is a better metaphor. But like a snowball, it's just kind of picked up and gotten bigger and bigger without having to overthink it. It's growing of its own accord because more and more people want to be a part of it, which is really awesome. So my challenge is to keep up. My challenge is to structure it in a way that will allow it to continue to grow and to let people know that it's out there. But for the most part, I think the service is something that people want to be a part of, which is great.
All right. And then another question I have is, you play Eric on The Walking Dead, and as we were discussing, you're a Blue Man down in Orlando, and also you do SOS Studio. How do you find free time?
Yeah, and I'm a father of 2, and my wife is going back to school for her master's. So, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. It's I got 2 things. One, I'm not much of a scheduler. I'm not. If I had my way, I would just kind of live life as it happened and take things as they come. But as you know, as a father and someone who juggles multiple jobs and has all these creative visions, that's not something that is necessarily realistic if you want to provide equal time to everything, or if you want to be able to provide strategies to some parts of your life. So one thing I started doing recently is I have 2 days a week when my kids are at daycare, and those are my work days. And I've started mapping out every hour of the day. Just during those days when I have total control over what I'm doing, I map out every hour, even free time. And so I'll say from 9 to 10, I'm working on the podcast. From 10 to 11, I'm recording for my clients. From 11 to 12, I'm doing housework. From 12 to 1, I have lunch and free time. And I just go through the whole day, and then I have a separate list of goals that I have written down saying, all I say is from 9 to 10, I say podcast. But then I have a separate list that I store on my phone of all of my podcast goals, whether that be reaching out to new guests or editing last week's podcast or editing sending out a new newsletter to let people know what's going on. So I have all that written in there, and then whatever I can get done within that hour is good, and then I turn everything else off. And that used to freak me out about, I was like, oh, that's just structuring my time. I'm taking away all inspiration. It's just, as an artist, it kind of killed me a little bit to be like, oh, I'm being OCD. But what I discovered going into it is that it's actually great because it takes away other distractions. It's not killing inspiration. It's making sure that you only focus on this one thing at this time so that everything else can go to the back of your brain for a little while. And I kind of think that as you're going down a street and you go into a house that's filled with all the musical instruments you can imagine, everything you've ever wanted, everything you know how to play, and you go in and you just record for an hour. And there's no other distractions. There's no TV. There's no internet. You just record or you write. And then you leave that house and you walk down the street and you go into another house. And it's just a kitchen. And it's just the best food you can imagine. And you just sit down and you make whatever food you want to make. And you take that hour to enjoy your lunch and don't get distracted by anything else. And then you walk back out and you go to the next house. And so that's kind of how I structure my stuff as of late. I've been playing with that, and it seems to be working pretty well.
So no time machines yet, huh?
No, despite today being the Back to the Future Day. The day of recording this podcast is October 21st, 2015, which is when we're supposed to be in the future. But no time machines or hoverboards yet.
Or flying cars, unfortunately.
Yeah, no.
But they have the self-tying shoes.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, but they do have the self-tying shoes.
That's right. Yeah, the Nike. Is it Nike? Is that right?
Yeah, the Nikes. And then the Pepsi, I think Pepsi Perfect or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
The $20 a bottle Pepsi.
Where it's just really good water is all it. Hopefully, all it is really good water.
Yeah, exactly. And you are a vegan, correct?
I am.
Okay. One of the questions I had written down was, what is your favorite vegan recipe?
Oh, that's a good one. So a little backstory. When I went vegan, I've been vegetarian my whole life, actually pescatarian. And then I used to work out a lot, 5 and 6 days a week, and I was always at the gym. I was a bodybuilder, and I weighed 20 pounds more than I do now, and I was all muscle. And then I stopped. I just one day just said, nope, I'm done. I'm going to go vegan. I'm going to be healthy in another way. But before I did that, I said, I wanted to be educated about it because you can be vegan and eat French fries and Oreos all day. Being vegan doesn't necessarily, it's not synonymous with being healthy. You can be an unhealthy vegan. And so I wanted to know, I didn't want to always make the same meal day in and day out. I wanted to have some variety. I wanted to know what I was making and why I was making it and what I could do. So I did a bunch of research. I found a couple cookbooks that I love, and anyone who's interested in exploring the plant-based diet, I have two that I think you should really check out. One is by an author. Her name is The Happy Herbivore, is what she writes under. And she's a vegan chef and lifestyle coach out of California. And the great thing about her cookbooks is that everything is super easy to make. She's got vegan burgers, and she's got vegan pot roasts and casseroles and desserts and salads and everything else you can imagine. But everything is stuff that you already have in your house, in your pantry. One thing about being so many vegan cookbooks are like, go find 3-week-old baby bok choy and marinate it in golden sesame sauce from the Himalayas. And it's like, I don't even know where to start looking for these ingredients. And so she makes it really simple and just uses stuff that you already have around. And it's super tasty. Most of it's fat-free and just a lot of fun to eat. And the other one is a book called Food Matters by Mark Bittman. And his story is he's a food critic. He's a chef. He's a foodie. He loves to eat, and he loves to know what's going on, and he loves to prepare food. And in the beginning of his book, I don't remember what the exact story is, but some thing in his life leads him to go to the doctor. And the doctor sits him down and says, basically, looking at all of your numbers and everything else, unless you adopt a plant-based diet, you have to cut out all the meats. If you don't cut all the meats, you're going to die soon because of X, Y, and Z. And Mark said, I can't do that. My job is to eat all kinds of food and to prepare all kinds of food. I can't cut things out of my diet. And the doctor said, well, the choice is yours. And so Mark decided that for the first 2 meals of his day, for breakfast and lunch, he's vegan, and he only prepares things completely plant-based. And then for dinner, he will incorporate some meat of some kind, but it's forced him to look at the ways that the rest of the world prepares meat. In America and in many other cultures, but in America, because I live here and I know most about it, so many, our view on protein is that you sit down and you have meat on your plate, and that's the majority of your meal, and then maybe you'll have some vegetables on the side, or a salad, or some potatoes, or something. But the meat is the main staple. And Mark started looking around the rest of the world and saw that the way that everyone else prepares food is it's all vegetable based, and it's a stew, or it's a casserole or something, and then meat is added at the last. second, at the end of the meal. It's something that takes it to the next level by adding a texture or a new flavor or a new something, but it's not the staple. It's another ingredient as a part of something bigger. And now his cookbook is dedicated to that. He still shows people, how to cook veal and how to do all this other stuff, but taking it in a larger world approach of you can still have your meat, but make sure that it's not the main ingredient. Make sure to include all of the other food groups as well. Long story short, I'm a talker. I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if I have a specific recipe that's my favorite, but those two are my go-to cookbooks, go-to whenever I'm looking to create something. I highly recommend The Happy Herbivore for anyone who's looking to check that out.
All right, and I personally like that you're a talker. This is your third time on here, so we love that you really go into depth and you don't give like really quick and to the point answers, and you kind of explain your answers. It's really awesome.
Sweet, dude. Thanks.
All right. Now you are also credited as being a multi-instrumentalist. Which instrument of yours is your favorite?
My main instrument is violin. I started playing when I was 4, and I grew up in East Tennessee doing some bluegrass in the Smoky Mountains. I worked at Dollywood and Dixie Stampede and a bunch of other theaters in the area from ages 8 to 18. And so fiddles, like I can pick up a fiddle and jam along with anyone or any song or whatever, because I've been playing it long enough. It's one of those things that I do without having to think about it, which is great. But then over the years, I've also picked up mandolin, guitar, a little bit of bass. I own a bass. I'm not a bass player. And then I also own a cello, which I'm not a cellist, but I own a cello. And for Blue Man, then I've picked up some basic percussion and playing rhythms with my hands. But I'm not a kit drum player by any means. But those pretty much anything with strings, I can pick it up and I can figure it out to a very elementary degree. Well, that is pretty impressive. This is coming from somebody who has troubles playing the triangle. Got to work on that hand-eye coordination. Yeah, I just can't get it. Like, I am completely, I guess, musically stupid. My sister is able to play the piano and stuff like that. I didn't get that gene, apparently. Well, you make up for it in other ways. I know you do everything. You got the podcast, you've got your video series. I know you've got your way. You've got your outlets. So exactly, and that's the good thing. Yeah. But I just can't do my own soundtracks. Well, good. That's why you got SOS Studio. Da, 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 da. Yes, exactly. They can take care of the music for me. That's right. All right. Now with the Walking Dead, obviously it's a really big show, and it's a hit at pretty much all the conventions around the United States. Now, what would you say out of the conventions and signings that you've been to, what is your favorite memory so far? Well, I have a certain fondness for my very first convention, which also happened to be in my backyard. It was here in Orlando, Florida. And that was earlier this year, 2015. And it was the very first one I went to, and it was a Walker Stalker Con. And it was just so cool. I'd been revealed on the show, I think it was maybe 3 months earlier. And I'd spent 6 months before that not being able to talk about it, so like all this tension and anticipation was building within me. And then I'd had a couple months of being able to talk to people online and, share stories over social media and engage with the fans, which the Walking Dead fandom is just incredible. And I've, my life has changed since interacting with all these people. But it was that was a really great weekend to be able to share with everyone and to be able to see some faces, to meet people for the first time that maybe I'd had conversations with, but we'd never had a chance to hug, So Orlando was just great, just getting to meet everyone. And then each time I travel around to different cities, I get to meet more and more people. I've been exclusive to Walker Stalker Con so far, but I've been in Orlando and Boston and Philadelphia, and just coming up in 10 days, and I'll be in Atlanta. So, and I hear that's the crazy one, right, CJ? That's the mothership.
That is. I've been to both of the Atlantas before this, and yeah, it's got the biggest roster this year. I think there's over 60 plus guests, and
wow.
They're expecting over 60,000 people over the weekend.
Moly. And it's Halloween weekend, which is fun. I'm going to dress up. I don't know what I'm going to dress up as, but do you have a costume?
I'm not going to dress up. I'm just going to be. I'm going to be the Walker Stalker press reporter. That's my costume. I might get like a hi, my name is, and just change my name and say I'm somebody else.
Felipe.
Yeah.
Felipe, the Walker Stalker Con press reporter. I like it.
Now I'm wondering if you or any of the other actors, since you know Walking Dead's so local, if they're just going to be dressed up as Halloween as their regular work clothes. I don't know if Ewan would make them offset.
Right, show up in the Walking Dead costumes as our characters.
Yeah.
I wonder. I know. I was trying to think of what to do, and I'm looking at some different sites of fun things to wear. But so many people have said just go with Eric. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I could do that. It'd be really simple. Just head over to J. Crew and buy some shorts and buy some khaki jeans and an Oxford, and I'm all set.
Exactly.
I'm going to surprise everyone. I think we'll figure it out.
Also, I think 11 days for Halloween. Sounds like everybody's going to be in for a surprise. I will say that my daughter will be there on Halloween, and she's going to be running around as Elsa.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, she's going to go. There's
Elsa?
probably no, just regular Elsa.
Okay.
Because she just wants to be like every other girl out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but well, I'm filming. She'll be somewhere running around.
I'm excited to meet her.
And speaking of Walker Stalker Con, are you going to be in New York, New Jersey as well?
No confirmation on that yet, but I will be sure to let you know if that goes through.
Okay. All right. It looks like that is all of the regular questions. I've got the fan questions.
Great.
Now that's going to do it for part 1. Make sure you check us out in part 2 to finish this awesome interview with Jordan Woods Robinson.
Hey y'all, this is Lou Temple. Rick Nicotero.
Patty Moore.
T-Love.
Sarah Jensen.
Emma Bell.
Bing Chen. Vincent M. Ward. Jeff Cobra.
Jose Pablo Cantillo.
Danny Robot. Lawrence Gilliard Jr. Nestor Carbonell. Harold Parano. Daniel Thomas May. Ellen Moss.
Sarah Wayne Callies.
Chad L. Coleman. I'm RJ Bay from Breaking Bad.
Bates Motel.
AMC's Comic Book Man.
The Walking Dead, and you're listening to Creech questions.
You better listen up good or I'm coming to get you.
Hey everyone out there, this is CJ Creech, and you too can listen to our celebrity interviews on our podcast, Creech Questions. Check us out on CreechCreativeProductions.com and Facebook.com/CreechCreativeProductions.